Connor McDavid, the name that makes defenders freeze and fans hold their breath. The fastest skater alive. The modern Gretzky, the heartbeat of a generation. But even icons have origins. McDavid's dominance didn't appear overnight. It was molded by admiration, rivalry, and obsession. 6 players lit the path he would one day race past, heroes he studied, rivals who tested him, mentors who guided him, and successors who now chase him. What's shocking is how each one unknowingly built a piece of McDavid's greatness, shaping the legend we see today. And it all began with the man he once called his hero, the player who made him believe he could be great. Before we dive into these 6 names that shaped Connor McDavid's rise to greatness, make sure you hit that like button if you believe in the fire that forges legends. Subscribe and stay with us till the end, because what you're about to hear isn't just a story of skill, it's the untold blueprint of hockey's most unstoppable force. Trust me, you don't want to miss who inspired McDavid to become the player every other superstar fears. Sidney Crosby, the childhood idol. Before Connor McDavid became the face of the NHL, before the highlight reels and 150-point seasons, there was a kid sitting on a couch in Newmarket, Ontario, eyes locked on a TV screen in February 2010. It was the Vancouver Olympics, and Sidney Crosby had just scored the golden goal. The roar of the crowd, the sight of Crosby's calm celebration, the weight of a nation lifted, it hit McDavid like lightning. That moment didn't just inspire him, it defined him. He saw in Crosby everything a hockey player could be. A leader, a perfectionist, and a winner. From that day forward, McDavid wasn't just playing hockey, he was studying it. Every move Crosby made became a masterclass. He mimicked his stride, his low stance, his balance in corners. He watched how Crosby spoke in interviews, how he never bragged, how he treated every win like a privilege, not a birthright. In McDavid's mind, Sidney Crosby wasn't just a star, he was the blueprint. Years later, McDavid would admit in an interview, "I just wanted to be like him." And he meant it. Crosby's influence was in his posture, his skating drills, even the way he carried himself during losses. To young Connor, being like Sidney wasn't a dream, it was a daily ritual. When they finally met, years later, it wasn't a rivalry, it was reverence. The teenage McDavid shook Crosby's hand with the awe of a fan meeting his idol. Yet beneath that respect, something deeper stirred. Hunger. In that handshake was a silent promise. One day, I'll earn your respect on the ice. And soon enough, that day came. Their first NHL face-off felt like destiny. The golden goal hero against the golden prospect. McDavid didn't try to outshine him that night. He didn't need to. Just sharing the same sheet of ice was proof that the dream had come full circle. But over time, something remarkable happened. McDavid began to realize that greatness wasn't loud or flashy. It was steady. Crosby's balance on the puck, his focus in chaos, his discipline on and off the ice, these were traits that separated the good from the godlike. McDavid absorbed that lesson. He saw how Crosby's strength came not from showmanship, but from consistency. It wasn't the goals or assists that defined Sid. It was the way he showed up the same way every single night. That quiet excellence became the foundation of McDavid's game. And then came the shift that no one, not even Crosby, saw coming. McDavid stopped studying Crosby and started surpassing him. What shocked fans and players alike was how fast it happened. One moment, he was the apprentice, learning from his idol's shadow. The next, he was the storm everyone was chasing. In only a few seasons, McDavid's speed, vision, and control shattered expectations. Analysts stopped comparing him to Crosby and started asking if he'd already eclipsed him. Even Sid, ever humble, admitted McDavid was doing things we've never seen before. That's when admiration transformed into rivalry. Silent but real. Crosby, the king of an era, watching the next generation's crown being fitted before his eyes. McDavid didn't intend to dethrone his hero. He simply couldn't help evolving faster than anyone thought possible. The student had outgrown the master, and the hockey world could feel it. That uneasy passing of the torch that happens only once in a lifetime. Sidney Crosby lit the spark that ignited Connor McDavid's journey. But every fire, once started, searches for something that makes it burn hotter. And for McDavid, that fuel came from another player. One born on the same rugged coast. One who trained like a man possessed. One who also turned admiration into a brutal kind of competition. The next chapter of McDavid's evolution wouldn't come from worship, it would come from war. Nathan MacKinnon, the rival who pushed him. If Sidney Crosby was the light that guided Connor McDavid, Nathan MacKinnon was the fire that burned behind him. Both born on the rugged Atlantic coast of Canada, their paths seemed destined to cross. Nova Scotia produces workhorses, not prima donnas, and both men carried that same wired intensity in their DNA. Off the ice, they respected each other deeply. On the ice, they were gladiators in the same arena. Every summer when the NHL season ended, these two didn't rest. They trained. In the humid Halifax gyms, their sessions became silent wars. No cameras, no cheering, just sweat, steel, and two prodigies refusing to quit before the other did. What started as off-season workouts quickly became endurance battles, the kind that leave even elite athletes on their knees. MacKinnon's skating drills were brutal, straight-line sprints, parachute resistance, hill climbs, and mind-numbing repetition. McDavid matched him, stride for stride, heartbeat for heartbeat. They didn't speak much during these sessions, but they didn't have to. Their rivalry spoke louder than words. MacKinnon's intensity was legendary. He treated a treadmill like a rival player. His eyes locked forward, jaw set, every rep an act of defiance. McDavid later admitted, "If Nate's working that hard, I can't fall behind." That sentence wasn't admiration, it was motivation. The two weren't training together, they were training against each other, even in silence. On the ice, MacKinnon's ferocity was unmatched. He attacked the puck like it had insulted him personally. His legs pumped like pistons, his stride wide and violent, his body a blend of raw power and fury. Watching him skate was like watching thunder in motion. McDavid, smoother and more surgical, studied that aggression. He didn't have MacKinnon's bulk, but he had something else: precision. Every battle between them, whether in summer scrimmages or NHL matchups, felt like two elements colliding: fire versus lightning. MacKinnon's ferocity sharpened McDavid's composure. His bulldozer energy made Connor refine every inch of his craft, perfecting the balance between speed and control. But what shocked everyone, including McDavid himself, was what happened behind closed doors. During those punishing off-season training sprints, the kind no fan ever sees, MacKinnon often beat McDavid. The world's fastest skater, the man no defenseman could touch, was occasionally left trailing in the wake of his closest rival. That revelation flipped McDavid's entire mindset. Even at the peak of his powers, there was still someone to chase. It shattered the illusion of invincibility that comes with stardom and reignited his obsession with self-improvement. From that moment, every practice, every shift, every second of ice time became personal. McDavid didn't just want to win games. He wanted to make sure no one, not even MacKinnon, could ever outwork him again. When they faced each other during the regular season, you could feel the tension in the air. Every rush, every shot, every collision felt like a continuation of those off-season duels. MacKinnon's avalanche against McDavid's Oilers became symbolic of two generations pushing hockey's limits. Their rivalry wasn't built on hatred, it was built on respect so fierce it bordered on war. In a way, MacKinnon lit the fuse that turned McDavid's talent into obsession. He showed him that greatness isn't achieved, it's chased, sprint after sprint, drill after drill, season after season. And while MacKinnon's power forged McDavid's relentless drive, another figure would soon appear, one who didn't push him through sweat or rivalry, but through wisdom. A living legend who would change how McDavid saw the game entirely. Wayne Gretzky, the mentor. Every great story has a bridge between eras. And for Connor McDavid, that bridge was Wayne Gretzky, the man whose shadow stretches across all of hockey. The Great One didn't just see McDavid as a rising star, he saw him as the next caretaker of the game's soul. When Gretzky watched McDavid play for the first time in an Oilers jersey, he didn't focus on the goals or the speed, he focused on how the kid made everyone around him better. After one of those early games, Gretzky offered him a line that would shape the rest of his career. "It's not about points, it's about how you make others better." Simple, yet heavy with meaning. McDavid didn't just hear it, he lived by it. From that moment, his evolution accelerated. The young phenom, obsessed with highlight reels, began thinking like a conductor rather than a soloist. He learned that the true mark of greatness wasn't scoring 100 goals, but making his line mates believe they could. You could see it happen on the ice. Subtle changes, smarter passes, more patience on zone entries. His assists weren't just setups, they were statements of trust. McDavid became the type of leader who didn't need to scream in the locker room. His leadership was quiet, consistent, and relentless, just like Gretzky's. The Great One's philosophy of selflessness transformed McDavid's game from spectacular to sublime. But their relationship wasn't all praise and comfort. During one of their private conversations, Gretzky told McDavid something that haunted him for years. "You'll never be me," he said. Those 4 words hit harder than any body check. For a moment, it sounded like rejection, a reminder that no matter how fast, skilled, or gifted he became, he'd always live in someone else's shadow. But as time passed, McDavid realized the truth hidden in that sentence. It wasn't dismissal, it was permission. Gretzky wasn't telling him he'd never reach his level, he was telling him not to try. McDavid wasn't born to be the next Gretzky, he was born to be the first McDavid. That revelation changed everything. The pressure lifted, he stopped chasing ghosts and started creating his own. Gretzky's words didn't chain him to the past, they freed him from it. When McDavid began redefining what speed, control, and creativity could look like, it wasn't rebellion, it was evolution. Gretzky had once reimagined hockey as a game of space and vision. McDavid turned it into art in motion. In many ways, Gretzky didn't just mentor him, he gave him the map and told him to draw new roads. Even now, McDavid speaks about Gretzky with reverence. "Every time he talks, you listen," he once said. Their bond is more than generational, it's spiritual. Gretzky gave McDavid a sense of duty, the responsibility of carrying the torch for Canadian hockey, and McDavid carries it like a man aware of its weight. The Great One gave him wisdom, but what came next wasn't about knowledge. It was about feeling. The next player McDavid loved didn't teach him leadership or control. He taught him passion, unfiltered, explosive, and wild. Because while Gretzky's lessons shaped his mind, it was another legend's fire that ignited his heart. If you're still here, you're part of the real hockey minds. The ones who understand greatness isn't luck, it's legacy. Drop a comment right now. Who do you think pushed McDavid the hardest? Crosby, MacKinnon, or Gretzky? And make sure you're subscribed, because the next names on this list will completely change how you see McDavid's journey and what true rivalry really looks like. Patrick Kane, the magician who defined creativity. If Sidney Crosby was McDavid's idol and Gretzky his mentor, then Patrick Kane was the artist who unlocked his imagination. McDavid didn't just admire Kane, he studied him like a musician studies Mozart. Every toe drag, every delay, every split-second fake was a symphony of deception. Kane didn't play hockey, he composed it. Where others saw chaos, Kane saw rhythm, angles, and opportunity. For young Connor, watching Kane weave through defenders was like discovering a new language, one where the puck spoke poetry and every move defied gravity. During McDavid's teenage years, Kane was in his prime, dazzling crowds with those impossible hands, pulling off maneuvers that looked like camera tricks. His unpredictability reshaped what offense could be. Kane didn't just attack defenders, he manipulated them, luring them into traps before slicing through. McDavid took notes. He realized creativity wasn't randomness. It was control disguised as chaos. Kane taught him that the most dangerous player isn't the one with speed or strength, but the one who can think 2 moves ahead while moving at full tilt. McDavid began weaving that lesson into his own DNA, combining Kane's artistry with his own raw athleticism. Behind the scenes, McDavid never hid his admiration. In interviews, he called Kane's hands from another planet, admitting that no one in the league could manipulate the puck like him. It wasn't envy, it was appreciation. Kane's slow, deliberate magic gave McDavid something to measure himself against. While most players tried to outskate him, McDavid was trying to outthink Kane. He spent hours rewatching his highlights, analyzing not just what he did, but why he did it. The pauses, the hesitation moves, the half-second delays, they weren't improvisations. They were science. Kane had mastered the art of freezing defenders' minds before breaking their ankles. But the shocking truth is this. McDavid didn't just learn from Kane, he stole his secret weapon and made it faster. Kane's magic relied on patience, deception, and timing. McDavid took that blueprint and compressed it into hyperspeed. Where Kane needed a beat to calculate, McDavid processed the entire rink in a blink. He learned to replicate Kane's sleight of hand, but at 25 miles per hour. What Kane could do standing still, McDavid could do mid-stride, skating full speed into a defense that had no chance to react. It was like watching Kane's artistry reborn in overdrive. The world had seen stick handling before, but never at this velocity, never with this precision. It wasn't imitation, it was evolution, and that's when Kane himself took notice. During All-Star weekends, he'd smile and joke about how McDavid makes it look too easy. Beneath the humor, there was respect, one magician recognizing another. For years, Kane had been the NHL's ultimate showman, but now he was watching a new era rewrite the craft he'd perfected. McDavid had fused creativity and speed into something unstoppable, a new kind of hockey that blurred the line between reaction and instinct. And yet, even as McDavid became the league's most electrifying solo act, he learned another truth Kane had never fully mastered. Hockey isn't won alone. You can dazzle crowds, you can break ankles, but to win it all, you need connection. The kind that turns 2 stars into one unstoppable force. Kane showed McDavid how to enchant the world, but the next player would show him how to rule it. Not alone, but together. Leon Draisaitl, the teammate who completed him. Every legend needs a counterpart, someone who speaks the same language but with a different accent. For Connor McDavid, that counterpart was Leon Draisaitl, where McDavid was lightning, fast, unpredictable, electrifying. Draisaitl was thunder, deliberate and devastating. Together, they became the perfect paradox. Art and strength, speed and patience, chaos and control. When the Oilers needed brilliance, McDavid provided the spark. When they needed composure, Draisaitl steadied the storm. What began as a talented pairing turned into one of the most symphonic partnerships in modern hockey. 2 minds orbiting the same rhythm, 2 forces understanding each other without a single word. From the very first games they shared a line, the chemistry was undeniable. McDavid's bursts of speed created chaos that few players could read, but Draisaitl could. His hockey IQ was like sonar. He sensed patterns others couldn't even see. While McDavid pulled defenders out of position, Draisaitl glided into the empty space left behind, ready to strike with that devastating one-timer. Their connection was less a strategy and more a sixth sense. Every glance, every motion carried meaning. You could see it in their eyes before a goal, a flicker of understanding, then execution, so seamless it looked choreographed. It didn't take long before analysts started calling them the deadliest duo in the NHL. Opponents would double-team McDavid, only to realize too late that Draisaitl had been waiting in the shadows, stick-loaded like a sniper rifle. The two fed off each other's brilliance. McDavid's creativity forced defenses to collapse. Draisaitl's positioning punished every mistake. The result wasn't just goals, it was a new style of hockey, where velocity and vision coexisted in perfect balance. When one stumbled, the other carried the weight. They didn't just share ice time, they shared purpose. But here's the twist. Draisaitl isn't McDavid's sidekick. He's his equal. In a league obsessed with singular heroes, this duo rewrote the narrative. Draisaitl's influence went deeper than highlight reels. Behind closed doors, he pushed McDavid as much as any rival ever could. When McDavid was frustrated, Draisaitl didn't comfort him. He challenged him. When McDavid sought perfection, Leon reminded him that leadership isn't just about domination. It's about trust. His calm demeanor grounded McDavid's intensity. His vision expanded McDavid's understanding of teamwork. Together, they learned to rely on each other not just as players, but as thinkers. Draisaitl redefined what partnership meant in a sport built on competition. In one interview, McDavid admitted something few expected from hockey's top alpha. "Sometimes I don't even have to look. I know where he is." That line said everything. Their chemistry wasn't trained, it was instinctive, something elemental. Over the years, they've shared moments of brilliance that feel almost telepathic. No-look passes, blind setups, and goals that seemed scripted by fate. And when critics doubted Edmonton's chances, it was their bond that kept the Oilers' flame alive. Their story isn't just about points and assists, it's about two stars learning that even the greatest talent shines brighter beside another light. McDavid's leadership matured because of Draisaitl's steadiness. Draisaitl's artistry flourished because McDavid gave him space to create. Together, they transformed Edmonton from a rebuilding team into a contender, two halves of one unstoppable force. But the story doesn't end there. Because even as McDavid and Draisaitl ruled the present, one name was already rising. A younger phenom who mirrored McDavid's speed, creativity, and fearlessness. A player who wasn't chasing him out of admiration, but out of destiny. McDavid saw himself in this new face. And for the first time, he wondered what it felt like to be on the other side of greatness. Cale Makar, the modern successor. Every generation produces a player who redefines what's possible. For years, Connor McDavid was that player, the gold standard for speed, creativity, and domination. But then came Cale Makar, a defenseman who moved like a forward, thought like a playmaker, and defended like a veteran twice his age. Makar didn't just break the mold, he shattered it. Watching him rush end-to-end, gliding through opponents, with the grace of a figure skater and the precision of a surgeon, you could feel the sport shifting. McDavid noticed it too. After facing him for the first time, he smiled in disbelief and said, "He changes what's possible from the blue line." Coming from the league's most unstoppable force, that wasn't just praise. It was acknowledgement of something rare. What makes Makar so remarkable isn't just his speed, it's his decision-making. Most defensemen hesitate before joining the rush. Makar creates the rush. His transitions are instantaneous, his reads telepathic, his puck control absurd. When McDavid watches him, it's like looking into a mirror. The same fearlessness, the same command of chaos. The respect between them is unspoken but unmistakable. In every matchup, there's a sense that McDavid is seeing a reflection of his younger self. That same hunger, that same refusal to blink. Makar's ability to dominate both ends of the ice reminds McDavid that innovation doesn't belong to one player or one era. The torch of creativity is always moving forward. But here's what no one expected. McDavid doesn't just admire Makar. He fears him. Not fear in the physical sense. McDavid's too competitive for that. But something deeper. It's the fear that comes when you realize the next generation is catching up, that the things once thought untouchable are being replicated, refined, and reinvented. McDavid spent years redefining hockey's limits. Makar is already bending those same limits in new directions. The first time Makar spun past him at full speed, crowd roaring, McDavid didn't just see an opponent, he saw the future. That quiet fear isn't about losing, it's about legacy, about knowing that the same awe he once felt watching Crosby, Kane, and Gretzky, someone will now feel watching him. And that's what makes this chapter so powerful. McDavid's admiration for Makar isn't rooted in nostalgia, it's grounded in evolution. Greatness isn't static, it's a cycle. McDavid understands now what Gretzky once told him, "You'll never be me." Because now, standing across from Makar, he sees the next era forming, one where his own dominance becomes inspiration for someone else's ascent. That realization is humbling, even haunting. Every stride Makar takes feels like a glimpse into hockey's next phase, one where McDavid's innovations are the starting point, not the summit, because every era has its prodigy. Gretzky had Lemieux, Crosby had Ovechkin, McDavid now has Makar, a rival born not from rivalry, but from respect and inevitability. And deep down, McDavid knows that someday, maybe soon, he'll be the one watching from the stands, nodding as the next phenom takes the torch and runs, or skates, faster than anyone thought possible. Greatness never dies. It simply changes form. And for Connor McDavid, that truth isn't an ending. It's the beginning of immortality. From Crosby's standard to MacKinnon's fire, from Gretzky's wisdom to Kane's flair, from Draisaitl's brotherhood to Makar's evolution, Connor McDavid's greatness isn't a solo act. It's a living masterpiece, painted by the hands of 6 legends who each left their fingerprints on his destiny. McDavid's brilliance is not born from isolation, but from inspiration, a reflection of those who challenged, taught, and fueled him. Together, they form the lineage of hockey's eternal story, where passion meets purpose and rivalry breeds respect. Greatness doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's passed, reshaped, and reborn. McDavid carries that torch now, blazing a trail for whoever dares to follow. Greatness recognizes greatness. And legends, they don't just inspire, they forge legends.